What's up guys, David here, and today in this video I'm going to give you guys a tutorial on how to build a custom dashboard, specifically a conversation tracker for your outbound emails. So if you're sending emails at scale and you need to keep track of several conversations, maybe you're doing like a Trojan horse strategy where you're not hard selling, you're asking a question and you just have to stay top of mind with these prospects or nudge towards your product or offer, this is the perfect dashboard for you. You can use it for yourself internally. I like to use it for my clients. Even though I'm booking the appointments on their behalf, it's just a really cool way for everyone to see what's going on in real time. And they don't have to sort through the whole thread. They don't have to go into instantly. And it just saves a lot of time. And honestly, you cannot miss a lead using this dashboard. And I thought this was so cool. My clients love it. And so I want to share it with you guys. And yeah, let's get into the video. So right now what you're looking at is a dashboard. Let me just make sure I'm sharing my screen with you guys. Give me 1 second. I'm not. Okay. There we go. So what you have here is a Notion dashboard. And I give this to all of my clients. They can track their outbound metrics, the lead sets that we're using, and tools, because sometimes we like to switch these out. But the dashboard that I'm talking about in particular is going to be this conversations one. So I'm going to open up this database and I'm going to show you guys how to build this real quick within Notion. But why don't I go into a quick tutorial. And so let's start with Peter, right? He's the one top of our list right here. So Peter, he responded positively to our second touch, right? And he said, yeah, like I'm down to check out whatever it is that you guys have. So in that case, I gave him a reply. So why don't I go into the dashboard and see where we're at with that. There it is. So we have Peter. So right now this is up to date. Let me break down what these categories mean. First, we have this purple category, lost dash follow up. This means that a prospect politely declined in this moment, and it might be worth following up with them every quarter or every few months. So I like to keep them there. You can manually review these conversations yourself, but you never ever know when it just might not be the right time. And so I always like to follow up quarterly. What is the worst that can happen? So we have this section right here. The next one is awaiting reply. This is when the last person to respond was the prospect, and you can reply to them. This varies based off what the engagement was, but this means it's positive, and so you can just read the AI summary and then determine it from there. The next one is the interested dash nurture. So this means that you were the last person to reply, and the person showed interest. The whole conversation is positive, and so from here it might be worth following up every 2 to 3 to 5 days, depending on what it is that you're offering, right? And then we have the classic meeting booked. This is what we want. We want this filled. And then we have the lost dash unsubscribed. This means that they showed disinterest. They clearly said no, or they asked to be unsubscribed completely. So I just clear these out if we ever get these. So that's what's going on right here. Now, that lead that I showed you, Peter, he is in the interested dash nurture because the conversation has already been updated. I clearly respond to him already, but why don't I do this? Why don't I open it up? And I'm just gonna get rid of the AI summary. And I'm just gonna move him around. I'm just gonna move him to, let's move him to like lost and unsubscribe. So we're just gonna move him right there. So what I'm gonna do is, let's say the last thing we had from Peter was his positive reply. After I send this message, or even if you just want to be sure that the conversation that you're reading is up to date, all I do is make a custom label here. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the custom label, and I'm going to hit this update thread tracker. So I click that, and what that does is it sends a webhook to our automation that updates the entire thread. So everything is up to date. So you can just, anytime you reply, you just hit that and the whole conversation within the dashboard gets updated. Just be sure to change it back to whatever label you had before. I like to, do it right away so I just don't forget. And so if I go to our dashboard, you can see Peter, who was moved to lost unsubscribe, has now been moved back to the interested dash nurture, and we have the summary here. Peter expressed interest by requesting more information and was promptly sent a one-pager and demo links. He has not yet responded to the follow-up with resources, so the next action is to wait for his feedback or questions. And this is the last touch date here, as well as his email. If we open up the entire block or page, these are the information keys that I like to track. We have the campaign, we have the initial reply from them, the last touch date. This automatically updates whenever there's a update that happens. Obviously the status, and then these two things are internal. I'll go over it in the automation. So that is everything. That is how this works. AI takes care of the whole thing, and you can just look at this and then go to instantly and look up the email and reply accordingly without having to figure out who was latest or who needs to be replied to. You just go to this dashboard. So real quick, if you are a B2B founder and you're looking for an outbound motion, I build AI powered growth engines. We do everything for you from A to Z: prospecting, list building, copy. We figure out your offer, and then we present you in a thoughtful way to your ICP, and we book meetings right into your calendar. So if you're interested in that, just click the link in my bio, book a time with me, and we can hop on a call. Anyway, going back to our automation, what you're going to want to do is first open up a page in Notion. So I think I have one. Yeah, here it is. Cool. So you're going to open up a page in Notion. What you'll do is create a table, and the headers that you're going to want to use is contact for the first one, contact name, the email, status, AI summary, campaign, last touch, date reply. You can label this needs update or refresh or anything like that, but this checkbox, it's just a checkbox property. This is what allows us to distinguish which threads need to be updated. So that's a checkbox. Last updated, this is a custom, or not a custom, this is a native property within Notion. So you just hit last updated. And then the last one is a text titled thread_ID. Cool. So it's a total of 9 properties: contact, email, status, AI summary, that's a text, campaign, that's a text, last touch, that's a date. I like to keep it short date. And then we have date reply, which is also a date. I like to keep that long date or full date. So once you have this table, just keep this here. And now we're going to go to our instantly, and we're going to set up our custom webhook to ensure that we're working with dummy data. So what I like to do is I like to go down here on the bottom left-hand side, go to settings, go to integrations at the top, and then on the left-hand side, you'll see webhook. You're going to add a new webhook. I have quite a few here. So why don't I just delete these? Because I don't really use. It's funny. I build these speed to lead systems for my clients. They love it, but me personally, I'm just on the computer already so much that I just like go based off the email. But anyway, once you go to your instantly and you click webhook and you create a new webhook, then you're going to want to get the webhook from n8n. So open up a new workflow. And I was recording this video before something unfortunate happened, some technical difficulties. So excuse the fact that I got started without you guys. But you're going to add a trigger at the bottom, select webhook, and then you'll get one that looks like this. We open it up. You want to hit production URL, copy that one. So we copied it. HTTP method is post. Now we're going to go back to instantly, pasted it here, and then we're going to scroll down, and where is reply received? There it is. Reply received. all campaigns, and we're going to add this webhook, right? So now our webhook is updated, and I'm going to show you guys how we're going to put dummy data in here. So once we have our webhook, what you're going to want to do is create a new sheet. Once again, guys, I started this video, technical difficulties, I'm still getting better, but you can just pause the video, and all the only headers that you honestly need is going to be the name or contact name, and email. Now, anything that you want to have in your custom dashboard, your conversations tracker, any header or value, add that in this Google Sheet header. But I only care for the name and the email. So once you have that, you're going to download your CSV. And the reason why I want to upload this via CSV is because you're going to get custom values. I always update my campaigns with custom I always update manually with CSVs. One last note is you want to make sure that the email is an email that you have access to. So in this case, I put my own email, put my own name as dummy data. Once you download the CSV, I'm gonna add a new campaign. I'm just gonna do test run, and I'm going to add leads. Cool, and then we're gonna map everything within instantly. So we're gonna map all the values. So location, I don't really need to import anything besides the name. This is what's important. The reason why is because when you get your payload from the webhook, these are the values that are going to show up. So we need our name, job title if you want that, LinkedIn if you want that, but I'm just going to do, all I have in this tutorial is name and email. This data that you're seeing here is from some random prospect in a different sheet that I just copied over. So cool. Perfect. So we got one contact, which is me. I'm going to insert the subject line. I don't know why, I'm just going to do it so you guys can get an idea of what my campaigns look like. Sometimes I'll add a PS. Anyway, so I preview it. Yeah, we'll send from any email. Cool. And then here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to myself so I can then reply to it and trigger the webhook. So you're going to go to the top, and then you're going to manually type in the email that you used in the sheet. So I'll send that again. Perfect. So the email's been sent. And now what I want to do is I'm going to refresh. You can see I was testing this already earlier. Cool. So we just got it right here. So we just received our email. Now we're going to reply to it. Before we reply, let's make sure that our workflow is on. I'm just going to title this YouTube Conversations Tracker. Cool. So make sure this is on. Make sure that you have, the correct production URL in the webhook configuration within instantly. And now I'm going to reply to it. I'm going to say, hey, shoot. I'm going to say, hey, wow, what the heck? Hey, this looks so cool. Can I see more info or a loom or something? David. I'm gonna send that. So from here, we go back to our workflow. And if I look at the executions, we should see, I'm going to refresh this. We should see it come in the webhook. Once we have that webhook data, now we can play around with it. It hasn't come in yet, so I'm just going to wait patiently. I'm going to refresh it one more time. While I'm waiting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to create a custom tag. Cool, so it's right there. Let me copy this to editor. refresh. I just want to make sure that it's the right one. Okay, cool. Now, real quick, I'm going to go back to instantly, go to settings at the bottom left, go to account and settings, and then on the left-hand side, go to lead labels, create new, enter the lead label. I'm going to put update thread tracker. This will be a neutral. This will be neutral. If you put it positive or negative, you can't change it later, so I just like to keep it neutral. And then I always just change the lead status back to what it originally was. So this label just acts as a button. So you just need to remember to update the label whenever you send a reply if you want it to update in your conversations tracker. From here, I'm going to go back to the workflow. And then we need a switch node. So the reason why we need a switch node is, for example, this is one that this is essentially what we're going to be building. The reason why we need a switch node is because if a lead replies and it's a new reply, we need to add that into our database. Now, if a lead that has already replied before is just continuing the conversation, we're not going to create a new row for them in our database. We need to update the database itself. So the switch node determines whether it's going to go down the new lead branch or it's going to go down the continuing conversation branch. And so for that reason, we have a switch node here. Now, what determines whether it is a new reply or not is if we scroll into our body of the webhook, one object that we have here is first. So you're going to want to grab this and you're going to want to scroll it or drag it over here. Go back. I already have this because, like I said, guys, I filmed this video. I was like halfway through and yeah, technical difficulties, but it's all good. So we're going to have two routes. The first one is going to be the object json.body.isFirst is true. So this boolean is true, and you can rename it whatever you like. The second route is going to be the same object, but this time it's going to be does not exist. Because when a prospect replies and they've already been marked as, maybe they're not inside the instantly database before, like they haven't replied for the first time, or they already have replied for the first time, that object is true doesn't show up at all. So we just take the same object and then go to string and we'll do does not exist. And then you're golden. So from here you want to save it and then you can execute the workflow and you can see that it went through the first reply branch. So then we're going to connect that to an AI agent. And from here, what I did was on the right hand side, you're going to create a new node, you hit AI agents, and then the model is just OpenAI, or you can use whatever preference that you have, and then you want to turn on the structured or require specific output information, so it allows you to get the structured output parser. The reason being is because we're going to want to map for certain keys, and next is the prompt. So what I did is I actually copied and pasted my prompt that I already had. So you can just pause the video, take a look at it if you want. If you want me to send you the prompt, just comment on this video, say you want prompt or something, and I'll DM it to you, I promise. So this is the prompt, and you can see that the inputs that we're taking is the contact name, the reply text, and the Unibox URL. So I'm going to go over the prompt for you real quick. So task, read the prospect's email reply and determine the context or the contact's actual name, classify the conversation status and create a brief summary of their response, extract the thread ID from the provided URL. So if I go over to the data from the webhook, and I scroll into the Unibox URL, you're going to see the domain, like the core domain here, right? And then we're going to see thread underscore search equals, and then we have thread : this whole string, and the string actually stops right before the ampersand. So this value, the string, is the thread ID. So what we're doing is we're taking the contact's name, which we already have here as a value, right? Name, the reply text, which is the snippet essentially, like the entire message, and then the unibox URL. So what we're doing is we are output or returning the name. Now, in some cases, the contact name does not exist. I just did a campaign for, we were contacting YouTubers, and some of these channels did not have a person. It was just the channel. So instead, what I did was, in the initial outreach, I just addressed them as hey there, or like hey team at channel name, and we would receive replies, and in their signature they'd have their name. So whenever we did receive a reply, this prompt collects the signature and it prioritizes the name in the signature over the contact name. So that's exactly what happens. So we're prioritizing the signature because that's exactly who we're talking to, and so that's what you're seeing here. So look for signature patterns, best regard, comma, name, thanks name. If no name found, we're just going to use unknown, right? That's what you see in the demo that I showed you because that was the campaign with YouTubers. So classification rules, this is where you're going to have to customize your classification categories if you guys want to do that, or you can just copy the ones that I shared with you. So we have awaiting reply, which means it's essentially our turn. We have interested, it's warm and it's their turn. We have lost follow up. This is where it turns cold or it's just not the right time, so we just check back later. And then we have lost dash unsubscribe, so permanent no. From here, then we have instructions on the thread ID extraction. So I gave it clear instructions on where to find the thread ID, and it's always going to be between thread colon and ampersand. So I even give it some examples, and then instructions on how to return the AI summary. And this is our output format. So I'm going to copy this. So that's the entire prompt followed by some examples here. I'm just going to scroll so you guys can see and get inspired. Then we're going to go to the output parser. I'm going to paste the output format in my output parser. And you can see this is the output that we should expect. I'm going to hit save. And then from here, why don't I test it? And something failed. So I'm going to go to the chat model, OpenAI account. Shout out my boy Mitch. He's hooking me up with credit, so I'm just going to use his. Mitch, you know who you are. Thank you. Peace. And so, cool, it works. We have meme, that's my full name, awaiting reply, and this is exactly what I said. So I'm interested, and I requested more information. That's my thread ID. So then we're just going to update and create the page within Notion. So we go to Notion. Let me make sure that when I'm creating one, conversations tracker, control flow. If you have a lot of clients, you're going to want to identify them like in the title, just because you'll see why in just a second. So we're going to create a database page, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Create a database page. So database page is the resource we're going to create, and then we're looking for a database. And this is my personal database, so let's find conversations tracker. Where is it? Should be here. I could just copy this ID if I can't find it. It's loading. All right, well, it does not want to load. So I'm just going to load it by ID. So I'm going to paste that. And then the title will be the name of the person. So I can just drag, add property. All right, we have an error, 1 sec. Okay, I remember now. So we need to go back to our database, the one that we are trying to connect to n8n. Once you log in to your n8n your Notion via n8n, you want to go to the page that you're going to be customizing. And they have docs on this, so I'm not going to dive too deep, but I'm going to go to my connections here, and I'm going to manage connections. I have to go to, 1 sec. Okay, so I remember now. If I zoom in, you can see it's developer managed integrations. And so this is where you have all your integrations native to n8n or native to Notion. So if you follow the docs, you'll be able to see what it is that you have to do. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just have to go to access. And then when you go to access, here you're going to select which pages have access or don't have access. So I'm going to go to team spaces, go here, and then I'm going to select my own dashboard. And then I'm going to hit save. And so now that the access has been granted for my custom, the one for this tutorial, if I go back to Notion, we should see that connections, there's one and it's right here. So bam, we're good to go. So then if I go to the n8n workflow, you can see what I'm going to do is just refresh it. We'll go to from list. And then you can see that mine pops up now. Right? And the title will be the name of the prospect. That's what I like, but you can have it be the email. I'm going to scroll down here, and the first thing we are going to do is select AI summary. And we're just going to map the text over. Next key is going to be the status. So you hit status, and whatever configuration that you have in your Notion, the titles of those statuses, the AI agent needs to output the exact formatting of like they have to be the same name is what I'm trying to say. So that's how you update those. So next property I'm going to add is the thread ID. Just going to move that over. Cool. Next one we're going to do is the date reply. So if I go to date reply, this is supposed to be the initial time that the prospect replied. And so I can actually go to switch. It's going to be the same values. Go to body, and it's going to be timestamp. Bam. So we can just put that in there. Notion will automatically format it the way that you want. So I'm going to add another property. This time we are going to have the checkbox property. So I named it initial reply. You might have named it something else. So we are going to check this on. So we're going to make sure this is checked off. And then lastly, the email. Did I not do that yet? I did not. So select email. And then I'm going to map the email that the agent gave out. Or not the agent, I'm sorry. From the switch node. Yeah, here it is. Lead email. Perfect. Cool. And so what I'll do from here is I'll execute it. And if we go to our conversations, I'm going to refresh it. Perfect. Here we are. So we have the contact, we have the email, we have the status, the AI summary, the campaign. I did not map that. So So let me just update that real quick. So you're going to add property, campaign, and it would be from the switch node. And you have a campaign name right here. Perfect. So let me just double check there's nothing else. We have the last touch. Okay, cool. So we want the last touch as well. So add property, last touch, and then this should be an expression, and you'll do curly bracket now, and that will give you the last touch, right? So that's it right there. Let me just make sure there's something else. Okay, cool, that's everything. So if I just run this again, you're gonna see another entry. And so to avoid this, that's why we have that switch. But let me just delete the original. Oh, was that the original? I think it was. Yeah, it was. Or that was the new one. So let me delete the old one. Okay, perfect. So you can see we have everything here, but it looks a little bit different from this one, right? And that's because we changed the group view. So now that you guys get an idea of how this data is stored, we have all these columns. You're going to go to filters on the right hand side, and you're going to scroll down to filter by status. Oh no, not filter, sorry. Settings, layout, and we'll do board. There we go. So now, delete that. So now we have this Trello looking board. I like to have it this way, and then you can edit your properties however you like. So when you hit settings and you do property visibility, what shows up on this card is configured through this property visibility editing page. So I like to have the contact that's always going to show, AI summary, the last touch, and the contact email. That's what I care for, but you can customize this however you want. So from here, what we're going to do now is configure the rest of the workflow. So what we're missing is if a prospect replies to a conversation that we already started. So let's just figure that out real quick. So we're going to go to Notion, and we're going to get many database pages, and I'll explain why in a second. So you're going to find the database that this workflow is for. In this case, it's going to be my own. And Simplify just cleans up the data for you. Oops. And so in order for us to get the right webhook for this, we have to respond again. Hey, just checking if I'm going to get that one pager. And let me just make sure that this is on. Yeah, it is. And so let me send that. And so now we're just gonna wait for that webhook to trigger. I'm gonna unpin this since I guess I don't really need it. I can always go back to it in the executions. And let me clean this up a little bit. How long are we? How long has it been? Can I check? I don't know how. All right, let me just check if it's yeah, it's here. Cool, so here it is. I'm gonna copy to editor. I went down the proper branch. We're going to get many conversations, get all the pages from this database. So this is going to pull all the pages from that database, the conversations tracker. And then what you're going to do is you're going to update the database page. So we're going to update a database page, and you're going to update by, oh, hold on, you want to add a filter, I'm sorry. So you want to add a filter in the first one, and this is going to build manually, add a condition, and you want the contact email to match. You want the contact email to match. So we go to lead email, and then you just drag that over. You can, oh, that's the condition, sorry. Do fixed equals, and then we just paste that in there. So we're matching based off the contact email. Yeah, perfect. And so what we'll do is I'll save that. We will then hit by ID here. So what we're doing now is matching by lead email. There's only going to be one match. Then we map the ID of that row or database page into which, like that is going to be the identifier of what we're updating or who we're updating. So it's this value here. And the only thing that we're updating is we add a property. It's going to be the initial reply. We're going to make sure that it stays off. So we're uncheck marking this. Save. That's it. So what are we doing? If I go to this and I open it up, you can see that the initial reply thing is checked. Now, before I send this email, or excuse me, when I run this automation, it's going to uncheck. So let me execute it. And let me go back to just confirm that. Let me open this up. Beautiful. So you can see it's been unchecked. Why do we have this here? Because that's what's going to determine what gets picked up every time we pull through these. That check mark is a filter. It acts as a filter. So let me move into the next step. So we're going to add a new webhook now. Hold on. I like to keep everything organized. So let me grab this. Copy. So this is all ready for you. This is done. So what this does is it creates a new lead into your custom conversations tracker dashboard, and it also updates whenever somebody, or it tags the conversation to be updated if a prospect is replying to an existing conversation. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add another webhook. Now, this other webhook is to trigger whenever we manually want to update the conversation within our instantly campaign. So we're going to change this to post. Move it over to the side. I'm going to go to instantly, left-hand side, settings, you guys already know. Integration, webhooks, add a webhook. Bam. And this one is going to be, scroll all the way down, update thread tracker. So whenever this label is selected, it triggers. Go to all campaigns, add the webhook. Whoa, error adding webhook, why? All right, let me refresh. Make sure to use the production always. Add webhook. Scroll all the way down, update all campaigns. Okay, perfect. So the webhook is live. Now let's trigger it. So what are we going to do next? We're going to go to our Unibox. We're going to open up the conversation that I have with myself. And so, hey, am I going to get that one pager? I'm going to respond. in here. So let's say you're the client or you're servicing your clients and you're responding on their behalf. You're going to say, hey, yeah, I'm working on it. Expect it by end of day. Obviously, you're not going to say that to a prospect, but I just want to show you the capabilities of the AI summarizer. It's really able to, handle, or it just gets everything. So I just want to pass in information that would be random, not general information. So after I send that, all I do is scroll down and I update the thread tracker, and that sends the webhook. So if I go here, oh, I didn't hit save. Hopefully it triggers. Hopefully it does. Or otherwise I'll send it again. Okay, I'm not sure if it did because I didn't hit save, so I'm just going to send it again. By the way, why did you reply to our email? I could have just, honestly, hit this again. I just realized that, but let's see what the AI summarizer is going to do now. Okay, here it is. Oh, it's not going to happen yet because I haven't built it. I cracked myself up. Cool. So here it is. What we have here is a webhook of, essentially this is all the leads information. So this lead label gives a payload that gives the, here it is. I want to make sure this is right. Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to copy this to editor. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the last message from them was, hey, am I going to get this one pager? Okay, cool. So anyway, this payload just pretty much gives all the the latest information on that lead when you hit it with that label. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the matching lead. So similar to what we did before, and then we're going to update the checkbox. So this is just a repeat of what we just did here. So I'm going to copy these, paste, move this over. And what we're going to want to do is hit this, make sure it's the right one, the conversations tracker that you built, and the contact email equals the lead email. So if that's the case, then it will update the database. Cool. And that's exactly what it did. We just want to hit initial reply is marked off. So far we have 3 workflows. Let me break this down. First one is a lead replies for the first time. We create a database page for them. Second one is if a prospect replies to an already ongoing conversation, we update the database. We update their page for them to, awaiting to be updated. Next, we have the custom trigger. So this is when we hit them with the update conversation thread label, and then this does the uncheck marking of the checkbox. So we have those 3 things so far. Now what we're going to do is we are going to build essentially the classifier. So next we're going to get the page that polls. I like to have it polled every 2 hours. And then we're going to check if the check mark box is true and the first reply is, the thread ID is not empty. We're going to loop all that need to be processed. We're going to get the entire thread, parse it, and then AI analyze and summarize, and we're going to update the lead. So let's do this. So we're going to get many database pages. Yeah, we're going to get all of them. I think this is the one. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's the database page. All right, cool. So get many, make sure you're clicking the right database. In this case, it's going to be conversations. Return all. From here, we're going to filter. So, it's funny, hold on. Okay, perfect. So if we had more rows in our dashboard, we would see them all here, but we only have one. But what we're checking for is the thread ID exists. So thread ID is not empty because that's what allows us to look up the entire thread. We're going to add a condition. And then next we're going to grab the initial reply box. Okay. This needs to equal true. So it's going to be Boolean is true. Oh no, sorry, false. Wait a minute. It's going to be true. Yeah, I should have named it something else because it confuses me. So Boolean is true. And so this is actually supposed to turn the check box on. And then this is supposed to turn the checkbox on. Yeah. Perfect. And then from here, we're going to look for the database that matches. Oh, so loop. Okay, cool. So it's going to be the loop node. Delete that. And then we'll go to Notion and we'll update the page. Oh no, it's not Notion yet. It is an HTTP request from Instantly, and then we'll update the page. So HTTP request, and this is going to be Instantly. I'm just going to go to their API. Can they give me a link, please? Instantly API. Cool. So we have their API right here. What we're looking for is if we scroll to emails, get email, just go ahead and copy this curl on the right hand side. go over here, import the curl, and then that'll set everything up for you. Okay, I don't want to flash my key. So what you're going to want to do from here is you can get rid of this. I'm going to set everything up for you guys. You're going to have the authorization bearer here. We're going to add another parameter, and we're going to do search. And the value is going to be thread colon, I believe, but I will confirm in just a second. Okay, so this is all the parameters that we need. So we have the URL, which ends in emails. I have the authorization at the bottom, but you don't need to worry about that. So it's the next parameter is going to be search and then thread colon. You can have a limit, it really doesn't matter. And then after that, it's going to be sort underscore order descending. So let me do that now. I'm just going to add a quick wait step. Whenever the update conversation threads tracker label gets hit, I want this to automatically update. So I added a wait node just to ensure that everything updates or has time to catch. And then it's only 5 seconds, and I'm going to connect it to this get many database pages node. So what I'll do is I'll actually execute the entire workflow. It's going to wait 5 seconds. Cool. So the filter, once again, is going to be the initial reply. Checkbox is true. And you don't have to worry about a new row getting created, because the only time that would happen is if we have a create database page node, which we don't have. That is only, that only happens in this first branch. So the other branches are just marking the data to be picked up by this classifier sequence. That's why that checkbox is so important. I'm gonna connect the loop node to the HTTP request. So we have search for one of the parameters, thread here, and then we're just going to map the thread ID. So here it is. Beautiful. I don't believe there's a space there. And then you could do sort underscore order and descending. I'm not going to have a limit this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my token, and then I'll show you guys what the output is in a second. Okay, so I put in my API key here, and I ran the automation from the data from the webhook, the one that triggered once we updated the lead label. I'm going to show you guys what the output is. Okay, so if you open it up, you should see everything between you and the prospect is here, stored here. So we have, hold on, there we go. So everything is stored here. Sorry if the text is kind of small. You can see the body from the last email. And if I keep scrolling down, you can see another body from the email that they replied to previously. And so the latest emails are going to be at the top. And then as you scroll down, you should see all the emails. So that's what that is. So next, we have to format everything so an AI agent can process the entire thread and classify everything. So the next node is going to be a code node. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this because I already have it configured. If you want one, I can shoot you the prompt that I did to create this. Once again, just comment down below and I will DM you. I only get like one comment if I'm lucky per video, so I promise you I will not miss your comment. I promise. And then so if I go back, I'll do a code node. We might have to troubleshoot this because it might be a little bit different since that's the one that I use for one of my clients, but we'll see. So let me execute the step, see if it works. And it did. Perfect. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see email 1. So it starts with the email that started first. So it said, hey, this is what we do. Email 2. Oh, wait 1 second. We got to figure out what is going on here because it's grabbing the wrong thread. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So real quick, you're going to open up your HTTP request, and you want to make sure you toggle this on, the send query parameters. That way, the query is the thread ID that you're searching for, along with the order. And then if you want to add a limit, you can. I don't really care to. So once we test that and you run it, you can see that on the right-hand side, this is the entire thread between the prospect and you just by searching this thread ID. So everything is right here. Now, like I said, I just copied this code node that I already had made. And so if you want it, just leave a comment and I will send it over to you. But let me just run this, see what's going on. And if you open it up, we can see that it classifies every single email in order. And so, yeah, this looks good. Cool, we're almost there. And then so the next thing now that we're gonna do is we're going to grab the agent. And so I'm just gonna copy these two. I know this video is getting kind of long. Most of you guys see the vision already. I know you get the point. And so I don't really need to explain how to create an AI agent. You're just gonna plug in the LLM of your choice, structured output parser, and then you could pause the video here if you want to check out this prompt. But I'll go over it with you guys. Or if you want it, just comment and I will DM it to you. You are a conversation analyst for a sales team. Your task is to analyze an email thread and determine the current status of this conversation. So the context here is today's date. We have the now JSON expression, our sending email account. So it's our email. And then any email address from this account equals sent by us. So any email to this account is sent by the prospect. This is just so the agent understands the thread that it is reading. Next, you will receive a complete email thread in chronological order. Each email includes the from, the to, subject, body, and the timestamp. So that's the input. Your job is to analyze a thread and return a JSON object with these fields. The status, and then we tell the different status types. The AS summary, the last touch date, the last sender, and then the conversation sentiment. So positive, neutral, negative. Classification rules. Awaiting reply, the prospect sends the last message. They asked a question, requested info, or expressed interest. We must reply, pretty soon. Interested dash nurture, it's warm and it's third turn. We sent the last message. It was a soft follow-up, like let me know if you're interested. Here's the info you requested. Or prospect said something positive but not urgent, and so now we are waiting for them to respond. If we sent the last message 7+ days ago with no response, classify as lost dash follow-up instead. So now we have lost dash follow-up. Quarterly check-in, prospect explicitly said not interested right now or maybe later, so reach out in a few months. And then you have the, meeting booked. So this is clear confirmation of the scheduled meeting. Sometimes you guys confirm, you should always confirm via the email. So if it detects that, then we're going to classify them as meeting booked. And then we have a decision tree here. So the output format is this. I'm going to copy it. And then we have the thread data at the bottom. And I'm going to make sure the output parser has everything, and it does. Cool, so I'll disconnect this and I'll run everything. Hit save here. Perfect. So let me connect this to the update lead. What you're going to want to do is you're going to hit the Notion node database page, and we're going to update. And then now we have to select the ID. And so if we go back to our loop over items, we're going to select the ID of that row or page, and we're going to put this here. Once you have that in there, these properties will be able to you'll be able to select from a drop-down menu. So the first one is the AI summary. You're going to go to the AI analyze agent, and then you're going to map the output here. Next is the status. Make sure that the classifications match the ones that you have for your groupings in the Notion, and then you just drag that and drop it there. Last touch, that's going to be also from the agent, just drag and drop. And then once again, the initial reply, the internal checkbox, now we're going to check that off, right? So if we check it off, that means it doesn't need to be updated. And that's super, super crucial. So I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to loop this back. And so now if I hit a manual trigger, and if I add this here, you can see save. So just to clarify, that checkbox is what determines whether or not the conversation needs to be updated. We did not reach this node yet. And so what we're going to do is we're going to hit the manual trigger, and the manual trigger is going to process the entire workflow because the filter still detects that the checkbox is marked. But now if I hit the manual trigger, so we just finished, if I hit the manual trigger again, it's going to stop the workflow because the checkbox is off. So if I go to the database, you can see, I think the last thing that we had sent was pretty not actual replies, but the prospect expressed strong interest by requesting more information and a one-pager, and we responded promptly, promising to send it by the end of day. The engagement is positive, and we are now waiting for the response after our last follow-up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to respond. So I think, yeah, our person here was the last person to respond, so now I'm going to respond. Yeah, I'm dying for that one pager. Actually, can we just book a meeting? So once I send this, the whole workflow should be updated. And it's going to trigger from here, the reply received. If we want to update it ourselves, then we just go to the Unibox and then we hit update thread tracker. But let me refresh. And we should see it pretty soon. Yeah, here it is. Perfect. So it looks like oh, you know what we also need to do? We should just connect this. Okay. My mistake. There we go. There we go. So the checkbox has been marked on now. So last we saw it was turned off, but now it's back on. And so there's a few ways I could do this. Why don't I just send it to be processed via through instantly. So this AI summary hasn't changed. We are now waiting for the response, but we just responded. And what I did was I just connected or wired up this flow to trigger this update. So now it's fully automated. If a reply comes in, or we just update the label. So in this case, because I had updated after the fact, I'm now going to update the label. Let me refresh. Yeah, see, so I'm dying for that one pager. So let's say I just don't really want to respond to them, or I don't know, we can just update the thread tracker, send it back to interested, and we should see this refresh any second, as well as the execution pop up on the left hand side. Yeah, there it is. Perfect. So let me go to the dashboard here, and so now that it's not an interested, it's over here and awaiting reply. The prospect expressed strong interest by repeatedly requesting a one-pager and then escalated to asking to book a meeting. Their engagement is highly positive, and they're waiting for us to respond and schedule a meeting. So there you have it, everybody. That is the conversations tracker, and you can see that this workflow works extremely well. I use it for most of my clients, and I'm able to track everything that I need just right here. And so if you're looking to implement this, you have this tutorial here. If you want any of the prompts, just comment them below. I'll DM you, or you can email me. And if you are a B2B founder looking to expand your go-to-market motion, you can book a call with me in the link below. Thanks, everybody, and take care.